Peace, peace, peace. It's your boy Lord Caleb. Building today on MK Ultra Intell Vision. Okay? This is going to be a quick build, but it's going to be a two-part build because this is some good information here that I want you guys to take away. We're dealing with MK Ultra, the 1950s and 60s US CIA program that was able to take control of the rebirth of the psychology phase of American development. And the MK Ultra was able to take advantage of those new learned psychological tactics. There were many things learned throughout the 50s and 60s here in the States. That period of the early 1900s, and the effect that it had on psychology, not only psychology, human development in general. All right. But today we're dealing with psychology. Check out your first boy here, Skinner, okay? Skinner considered the act of free will an illusion. Stating that your actions simply depend on your past actions, your past experiences. You are simply a conglomerate of the past. Predestiny, in the Bible sometimes speaks about this kind of energy and decisions. Life's about choices, how I see it. You have a lot of power in what you choose, decide, and the options and opportunities that you live and reside near. Now let's build on conditioning. When we talk about MK Ultra and Intell Vision, they run on what's called a program. That's why it's called Your Programming Has Been Paused, and we will continue shortly. There's a program on our subconscious minds that's deeper than a programming for a computer, right? We see this code language and, there's Python, which is a snake. There's CSS, there's Java, HTML, C+. There's a whole bunch of them, okay? And that's a program for a code, a phone, iOS, Android, programming. But there's programming that goes on for the mind as well. We're dealing with that today in the form of classical versus operant conditioning. Now, operant conditioning, the primary difference is the biological stimuli and the response to that stimuli. Now, classical conditioning, we'll deal with the classical first.
Peace. Check out this quick little loop, little Albert experiment, showing clear classical conditioning on human baby. Just showing how fear can be learned and unlearned, and how scientists and psychologists in the United States were studying the ability to classically condition humans. This is the 20s, about 100 years ago now. Take a look. Peace.
Is a pairing in learning, okay? Neurologically, the brain works in pairing of neural networks to behavior responses. The brain works in a pairing of neurological web of neurons, gray matter, dark matter, brain matter. It then pairs them with the response that is desired from the programming. Okay? It becomes known as the classical conditioning loop. Operant conditioning, on the other hand, is based on rewards and punishments. Before we dive into that, I'll give you some clear examples of classical conditioning, which exists in seeing a commercial for food and becoming hungry, listening to a music frequency or vibration or a television format and becoming moved sexually through your sacral chakra and energy, wanting to profess and proclaim your prowess. The last of money, seeing someone successful, emulating their way of proclaiming their financial freedom, liberation, or success. 3 clear ways that classical conditioning is apparent in our current lives. Another one we're going to deal with is operant conditioning, which is mainly based on rewards and punishments. Consequences modify the response. Okay? Behavior training, like when you have a puppy and you want to potty train it, you give it a punishment if it disobeys the agreement of the boundary for their litter waste. You give it a punishment, and if it properly uses that boundary, then give it a reward. Clear operant conditioning. Okay. Now we're dealing with the doctor, the great, acclaimed, may you have it, in a fashion, Ivan Pavlov. Right. He's the precursor to all of this conditioning that came into fruition in the late great USA. Okay, is a big reason that the school systems, classrooms, the societal way that classrooms run today are a lot of homage to Ivan Pavlov's conditioning and studies on the psychology of conditioning, biological stimuli, and response behavior tactics and techniques. Developing operant conditioning with rewards and punishments later on, and Skinner creating his Skinner box. They understood the pairing of neurological responses to behaviors. With that being the case, our classrooms today, the bell rings and you go to the next class, the whistle blows and recess has been terminated. There's a response behavior loop that goes on in our systems and institutions currently.
If you don't have the information, one cannot seize power. You need to think about becoming mentally competitive.
Ivan Pavlov was a part of a society called the Fellow of Royal Society in London in 1600s. Hello, my lord. And it was contributions to natural knowledge, which is psychology, a form of psychology. We're going to deal with Muhammad bin Ali Abgali, Darwin, Elon Musk. Search those people up and try to see what ties you can develop. And the main thing about this conditioning for part 1 here, MK Ultra, Intell, Vision, you have to recognize that these psychologists and information they have obtained is currently being used whether you like it or not. It's up to you to condition yourself. It's up to you to operant or classically condition yourself, or choose to live above a form of conditioning and become back to nature. It's a clear choice and decision you have to make now that you obtained this knowledge from me and my experiences. you can apply it to your life. If you do not, you can continue to be ignorant and live in a blissful state of not knowing. But if you do, I'm grateful you chose to become a commander of your life and take the quote-unquote red pill. It's your boy, Lord Caleb, man. Peace and stay tuned for part 2.